Okay, so we've learned about balance as one of our principles of design. We're going to continue our principles of design with dominance. Dominance is similar to emphasis. Emphasis means something stands out. So it's something that stands out, or something your eye sees first. What your eye sees first. Any of those definitions is fine. It's something that stands out. It's whatever you see first. So, ways to create dominance. You can change the size of something. If something is much larger than the rest, that's going to stand out. Or if something is much smaller than the rest, it's going to stand out. You can have a difference of value or brightness. Maybe it's a dark object around a bunch of bright areas. Or maybe it's a light object around a bunch of dark areas. Or it could be bright yellow against a bunch of dull yellows. Okay, could be that. Could be how clear things are, the clarity. So if it's detailed, it'll stand out against blurry. Detailed will stand out against blurry. Could be the placement of something. If you want it to stand out, maybe you put it in the middle, maybe you put it off to the side, depending on what it's against. Could be just where, based on where it's placed. Or it could be something unique compared to the rest. So it could be let's say I have a circle and some squares, all about the same size. Which one's going to stand out? Hopefully you see the circle first because it's different than the rest. So that's the way you can create dominance. Then we have our next principle of design, which is contrast / variety. These are differences or opposites. You can have all kinds of contrasts and varieties. You can have them have light versus dark. So a light value versus a dark value. You can have differences in textures. You might have furry versus rough. You might have differences in nature versus man-made. Nature trees, grass, things like that. Man-made could just be a park bench. Park bench is man-made. Around a bunch of trees and grass, what's going to stand out? The park bench, the man-made thing. Could be geometric versus organic. So circles, squares, triangles, rectangles versus organic, blobs. You could have shapes versus forms. You could have differences in colors, differences in lines, and differences in size, just like we use for dominance. When it comes to lines, you might have, here's your picture, you might have a bunch of wavy lines, and then if you put a zigzag in there, that's going to stand out, right? Okay. If you have a picture plane and for like nature versus man-made, draw your horizon line, draw a little park bench, put a tree in there, put another tree back here, and this starts to pop out, be the dominant thing. Okay, so that's contrast and variety. The next principle of design you need to write about. So we're continuing our principles of design. The next one is rhythm and movement. Rhythm and movement. Rhythm and movement is patterns and repetition to create a flow in your painting or drawing. Patterns and repetition to create a flow in your painting or drawing. There are several ways you can create rhythm and movement. The first way is to repeat the same elements over and over again. You could repeat lines, shapes, forms, values, textures, colors, or space. Repeat the same thing over and over again. So it's a pattern of one thing. So maybe you repeat the lines. I'm just repeating that line over and over again. Okay? So that's one way to create rhythm and movement. Another way to create rhythm and movement is by alternating two elements. Alternating two elements. So you could do line, shape, line, shape, line, shape. That's one possibility. You could do fluffy texture versus a different texture. Back to this texture. Back to this texture. Okay? As long as you go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Or should I say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so that's alternating and repeating the same. And the last thing is progressive. Progressive means that it's a gradual change. It doesn't say exactly the same. A gradual change for rhythm and movement. So we could go from light to dark, or from dark to light. That would be a gradual change. So if I go lighter, a little bit darker, a little bit darker, keep getting darker as I go here. It's a very gradual change. There you go. You could also do from small to large, or from large to small. They gradually get just a little bit bigger. You could do slowly changing the shape. So maybe I start with a square, and I'm going to change it just a little bit. Give it a little bit of a curve there. Change it a little bit more. Change it a little bit more. So it keeps changing. Okay, so we have for rhythm and movement, we have repeat the same elements, alternate two elements, or progressive, which means a gradual change. Okay? Our last principle of design is unity. Unity means that your artwork is joined together. Joins everything together. You should be using all the elements of art to make it look like it's one artwork. Created by one person. It's one artwork created by one person. That's the important part of unity. Ways to create unity. You could use proximity. Proximity means that you group things together. You group similar things together. Or they don't have to be similar, but you group things together. So if I have my picture plane here, if I put grouping these all together makes it look like it's all one, right? They're all placed fairly close together, so I get proximity. The next one is through similarity. Similarity is using repetition. Could be the same thing being repeated, or using things that are similar to each other, but not exactly the same. They don't necessarily have to be exactly the same. So if I use a rectangle there, and I repeat that rectangle, but I put it vertical and over here, they're similar, so that's going to tie things together. And then I'm going to put another one here, and another one there. So I've repeated things that are similar, but not exactly the same. And the last thing to create unity is what's called continuation. This is the direction your eye follows. Direction the viewer's eye follows. You have to figure out which direction the viewer's eye flows. It might start up here in this corner and come around down here, back up here, and back this way, and back out. So it's a continuation. It comes around and back out, and then you come back in here and keep going around. So it could be continuation, similarity, or proximity to create unity. That's all of your principles of design.